Bob Myers says LeBron James chose the harder path by joining the Sixers. Can't make it up. Can't make it up. So what we want to do now is we want to play the video, and I want you guys to listen to him do this nonsense that he's about to do.
Former NBA player Tracy McGrady just went head-to-head with analyst Bob Myers over his absurd LeBron James take, while Jeanie is officially entering a legal war to prevent the Lakers from being sold. The media spin machine is working overtime right now, but real fans are finally watching corporate excuses get completely shattered in broad daylight. Let us expose these hilarious double standards. Do you agree with Tracy McGrady that LeBron James took the easiest route by signing with the Philadelphia 76ers? Or is Bob Myers actually right? Sound off in the comments below. Today, we have two massive storylines that are completely shaking up the league's narrative machine, starting with an absolute train wreck of an analyst take from Bob Myers that got completely shut down by Hall of Famer Tracy McGrady, followed by a dramatic legal war brewing in Southern California over the future ownership of the Los Angeles Lakers.
He chose the hardest path, I think. Now you might say best chance to win. He goes back to Cleveland. He's made man. Like
Hold on, Bob. Hold up. What you mean the hardest path to what?
Okay, sorry. He chose the one that was, there's only one reason. It's to win. It wasn't because I played there before, I grew up there, I want to play with my friend. It was because I want to win. So I'm going to go where I want to go. It gives me the best chance to win. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah, but is that the hardest?
I think he could, if you're just talking about winning, I think
the hardest road is staying
where he was.
That's the hardest.
Okay, yeah.
That is the hardest.
And I don't know, you'd have to have him on, ask him that.
But I'm not going to knock him just because he goes from team to team and tries to win a championship.
Yeah, and I don't think.
Let us start with the comedy happening in the media space. A short while ago, former Golden State Warriors general manager Bob Myers sat down on a broadcast alongside Rich Paul and Max Kellerman. This was back before LeBron James officially announced his decision to sign with the Philadelphia 76ers during free agency. Now, as everybody already knows, LeBron joining Philadelphia created yet another massive super team in the Eastern Conference. The entire basketball community recognized it instantly for what it was, which is why LeBron fans were literally celebrating in the streets, losing their minds, and acting like they had already won the upcoming championship. When you break down the roster LeBron decided to join, it is completely stacked with high-level talent. You have a young, dynamic, all-star guard in Tyrese Maxey, who can score from anywhere on the floor. You have a former Finals MVP and perennial All-NBA wing in Jaylen Brown. You have a dominant former regular season MVP at center in Joel Embiid, provided he can stay relatively healthy for a postseason run. On top of that, you have elite, young, rising talent like VJ Edgecombe, a proven championship head coach in Nick Nurse, and then you add LeBron James to the mix. That gives Philadelphia a roster featuring 4 legitimate all-stars and an incredible supporting cast. Yet, despite this overwhelmingly stacked situation, LeBron's most dedicated media defenders always try to twist reality into something entirely different. They take a clear super team creation and attempt to paint it as some kind of heroic, noble sacrifice. On a recent episode of the Vince and T-Mac podcast, Bob Myers actually looked into a camera and claimed with a straight face that LeBron James chose the hardest path by signing with the Philadelphia 76ers. Think about how insane that sentence sounds to anyone who actually watches professional basketball.
But I think, if we just took 2 seconds to say, why did he go? And I think both you guys go, because I think he thinks the best chance to win.
Yeah.
Why can't our society just accept that reason?
Because it's LeBron freaking James.
Hasn't he made winning kind of his whole pursuit?
He's had a lot of headaches from this entire season.
We'll have to have this conversation another time.
I don't know. I'm just
about to find out. 100%.
Yeah, but is that the hardest?
I think he could, if you're just talking about winning, I think
the hardest road is staying
where he was.
That's the hardest.
Okay, yeah.
That is the hardest.
And I don't know, you'd have to have him on, ask him that.
But I'm not going to knock him just because he goes from team to team and tries to win a championship.
Luckily, Tracy McGrady was sitting right across from him, and T-Mac was not about to let that absurd propaganda slide by without a fight. The moment Myers tried to slip that line into the conversation, T-Mac interrupted him immediately, telling him to hold on and asking him what on earth he meant by the hardest path. You could see Myers instantly panic, backtrack, and scramble to rephrase his entire argument. Myers had to quickly pivot, claiming he meant LeBron chose the option that gave him the absolute best chance to win without caring about sentimental returns to places like Cleveland or Miami.
I guess what I was saying is, would it have been easier to go back to go to play in Miami or Cleveland, or do you guys think no?
Considering
I think
what's
going
at
back
stake,
to those teams, the challenge would be different.
the challenge would be different. But going back to those teams, there's no expectations. And it's crazy to put the expectation on a 41, 42-year-old.
That's my point. The expectations are going to be different now.
For sure.
And he welcomed that by making the decision he made.
Yeah.
So when I say hard, I guess that's what I'm talking about.
From that regard, I got you.
But I think like if we just took 2 seconds to say, why did he go? And both you guys go, because I think he thinks the best chance to win.
Yeah.
Why can't our society just accept that reason?
Because it's LeBron freaking James.
Hasn't he made...
T-Mac directly checked him on the spot, pointing out the simple logic that going to a completely stacked roster with 4 All-Stars is literally the easiest route to winning a championship. The actual hardest path would have been staying right where he was, carrying a developing roster, and fighting through the Western Conference grind without jumping ship to join another collection of superstars. Myers was forced to nod along and concede the point because his original statement was completely ridiculous. The online reaction to this media exchange was absolutely brutal, with fans across social media laughing at the mental gymnastics Myers attempted to pull off. Commentators pointed out how ironic it is that sports media constantly treats LeBron like either an untouchable god or a fragile baby who needs his decisions protected from basic criticism. Choosing to join a team featuring a former MVP, a finals MVP, and an all-star point guard is the definition of taking the path of least resistance to a potential title ring. Jumping from one super team to another across different franchises does not make a player brave. It just means he knows how to manipulate free agency. What makes this situation even more entertaining is how mainstream sports networks are already trying to manipulate expectations. Shortly after this free agency move, major outlets dropped updated power rankings that suddenly lowered the Philadelphia 76ers down to the 4th spot in the Eastern Conference. Why do they do that? They do it to create a safety net for LeBron. If Philadelphia wins, the media can claim he performed a miracle. If Philadelphia loses and falls short, those same analysts will claim the roster wasn't actually that good to begin with. It is the exact same media strategy we see year after year. Analysts put out lists ranking LeBron as a top player in the league, but the second his super teams struggle on the floor, suddenly his teammates get thrown under the bus to protect his personal legacy. Debating these biased talking points with die-hard fanboys becomes exhausting, because no matter how many facts, roster comparisons, and statistical truths you present, the goalposts will constantly move to protect the narrative. Now, moving over to our second major story, we have an absolute bombshell administrative situation unfolding with the Los Angeles Lakers. Just yesterday, reports were circulating everywhere that free agent forward Jonathan Kuminga was closing in on a deal to join the Lakers. Insiders were reporting that Kuminga favored Los Angeles over Minnesota because the Lakers were offering him a guaranteed starting spot alongside Luka Doncic, along with major market visibility and future financial flexibility. So you can imagine how completely floored basketball fans were when news broke that Jonathan Kuminga turned his back on Los Angeles and officially signed a 2-year deal with the Minnesota Timberwolves instead. When you look at the actual financial breakdown of the offers, the entire decision becomes almost incomprehensible. The Lakers reportedly offered Kuminga a 3-year contract worth $36 million, which averages out to $12 million a year in sunny California with massive endorsement opportunities. Instead of taking that stable bag, Kuminga rejected the Lakers' offer and signed a 2-year, $12.5 million deal with Minnesota, which pays him around $6 million annually. He literally gave up millions of dollars in guaranteed money just to avoid committing long-term without a player option, betting on himself in a crowded Minnesota front court. Lakers fans and basketball analysts blew up social media, relentlessly roasting Kuminga and his agency for rejecting a $23 million financial advantage just to play in a smaller market for half the annual salary. People rightly pointed out the bizarre history of Kuminga's contract negotiations over the past year. He went from rejecting a reported 3-year, $75 million extension offer from the Golden State Warriors because he thought he was worth $25 million a year, to turning down $40 million from Los Angeles, only to end up signing a short-term deal for $6 million a year in Minnesota. It is one of the most glaring examples of player delusion and poor agency management we have seen in modern NBA free agency. While Minnesota gets an athletic young forward to add to their postseason rotation, Kuminga missed out on a massive opportunity to play alongside a generational playmaker like Luka Doncic. Look at what playing alongside elite playmakers did for guys like PJ Washington, who elevated their market value instantly by thriving in open space created by top-tier guards. Leaving money on the table to take a smaller role on a team that already has heavy cap commitments down the road is a massive gamble that could easily backfire if he doesn't put up career numbers this coming season. However, Kuminga turning down the Lakers is only a small side story compared to the massive war taking place inside the Lakers' front office and ownership group. To understand the chaos currently happening behind closed doors, we have to look back at the dramatic timeline of the franchise's ownership over the last 12 months. Just last year, the sports world was stunned when Mark Walter purchased a controlling interest in the Lakers at a record-breaking valuation of $10 billion, making it one of the biggest franchise sales in professional sports history. Everyone assumed the ownership situation was settled for the foreseeable future, but out of nowhere, news dropped recently that the Lakers were being quietly sold yet again. Reports revealed that an ownership stake was being sold to Disney CEO Bob Iger and Josh Kushner, the prominent investor and brother of Jared Kushner. The sudden transaction raised massive red flags across the league, with fans and insiders wondering why a historic sports franchise would be flipped so rapidly just 1 year after a record-setting purchase. Rumors immediately began swirling about financial pressures, potential federal investigations, and underlying administrative friction driving the sudden deal. But before the ink could even dry on the transaction papers, controlling owner Jeanie Buss stepped into the arena and dropped a massive legal hammer that sent shockwaves through the entire NBA league office. Jeanie Buss officially filed a petition in the Los Angeles Superior Court to completely block the sale of the Lakers' remaining family stake to Bob Iger and Josh Kushner. In the court documents, Jeanie directly accused her siblings of devious behavior, claiming they secretly orchestrated a shady backroom deal behind her back in an explicit attempt to strip her of her executive power and remove her from her position as the official team governor. The legal filing reveals a bitter, deep-rooted family feud that has completely erupted into public view. Jeanie is asking the judge to prevent her siblings from selling the family's remaining 17.8% ownership stake, while simultaneously demanding that her co-trustees, Joey and Jeanie Buss, be stripped of their roles within the family trust for a clear breach of fiduciary duty. Under NBA operating guidelines, a designated team governor must hold at least a 15% ownership stake in the franchise to maintain controlling authority. Jeanie's legal team explicitly stated in the petition that she was never consulted, never informed, and never gave consent to any sale involving the family's shares. She forcefully argued that selling off the remaining family stake at this moment makes zero financial sense because the overall value of the Lakers franchise is continuously skyrocketing year after year. She made it clear that her primary mission is to protect the historic legacy of her late father, Dr. Jerry Buss, who meticulously built the Lakers into a global brand and designated her as his clear successor before his passing in 2013. To make matters even more intense, other minority shareholders within the Lakers organization have publicly backed Jeanie Buss, expressing their desire to hold on to their shares rather than sell to outside corporate entities. If the court does not block the transaction outright, Jeanie has reportedly made it clear that she is fully prepared to personally purchase enough individual shares to maintain her 15% threshold, ensuring she stays in total control of the organization no matter what her siblings try to do behind her back. With an official court date set for November 5th, this legal war is guaranteed to spill directly into the 2026 to 2027 NBA regular season. Having a high-stakes ownership battle playing out in courtroom depositions is the absolute last thing a franchise needs when trying to focus on building a championship-caliber team around its star players. The distraction, legal costs, and potential executive instability create an uncomfortable dark cloud over the entire organization at a time when stability is needed most. Looking at this situation from an outside perspective, you can completely understand why Jeanie Buss is fighting so furiously to keep the team in the family. In traditional sports culture and historic family legacies, a franchise built by a father is meant to be preserved, cherished, and passed down through generations, not auctioned off to the highest bidder for a quick financial payout. Dr. Jerry Buss spent decades transforming the Los Angeles Lakers from a standard basketball team into the premier crown jewel of professional sports entertainment. When an owner passes down an iconic franchise to their children, the expectation is that the family will honor that sacrifice, maintain control, and keep the legacy alive. Watching siblings try to quietly liquidate their inherited shares to outside media executives feels like a complete betrayal of everything Dr. Jerry Buss worked to build during his legendary run as owner. Jeanie understands that once a family loses control of a historic asset like the Lakers, you can never get it back, and the identity of the franchise changes forever. Between media personalities like Bob Myers getting publicly exposed for spinning super team narratives, players like Jonathan Kuminga making bizarre financial gambles in free agency, and the Buss family entering an all-out legal battle for the soul of the Lakers, the league is filled with high-stakes drama off the court. We are going to monitor this court case closely as the November trial date approaches, because the outcome will determine not just who controls the Lakers, but how legacy franchises operate in the modern corporate sports era. If you love raw basketball breakdowns and want to see the media held accountable, smash that like button right now. Do not forget to hit subscribe and turn on your notifications so you never miss our daily sports coverage. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, and we will catch you in the very next episode.